Hi everyone, this is part 2 of Ecology. Now that I've discussed the levels of ecological organization in part 1 and given you basically a preface of what they mean, let's dive into specifics. Let's start with population. Population growth is basically how the population is changing over time. Scientists like to look at how certain populations have grown or shrunk over a period of time because it can help them solve and address issues with biodiversity in certain communities, make predictions about how or why the populations might grow or shrink in the future, and understand how the organisms in a community respond to changes in their environment. For example, researchers might look at how different species living in the same area react to a drop or rise in temperature, or other environmental factors that are not the norm. It could help them determine if the population will adapt to the new changes, or if the organism will go extinct. One type of population growth is exponential growth, which is when there are a lot of resources available and the population grows larger and larger. For example, let's consider one bacterium. This bacterium can asexually reproduce to make two bacteria. Eventually, each of the two bacteria would undergo asexual reproduction and produce 4 bacteria. The number of bacteria is increasing exponentially, and ideally, if you were to graph it, you would make a J-shaped curve like so. But that's only in an ideal world, because in reality the population of bacteria, or whatever organism, would slowly stabilize and the curve of the graph would flatten out. This would happen because eventually in nature, resources start running out if the population is becoming larger and larger. Waste would build up and there would be less and less space. So in reality, the curve would look a little something like this. As indicated, the point where the curve levels out is called carrying capacity, which refers to the maximum number of organisms that an ecosystem can sustain, or the maximum population size. The S-shaped curve represents logistic growth. The carrying capacity of an ecosystem can change if the environment can change. For example, if I were to place the bacteria in a smaller container, the carrying capacity would decrease since less space would be able to sufficiently support a smaller population. Let's get into the types of terrestrial biomes. First, we have tundra. This is commonly referred to as a very cold desert because it does not get much rainfall and the ground is basically frozen. It is located up in the northern areas of Europe, Asia, and North America. One characteristic of this biome is that it has permafrost, which refers to the frozen topsoil. There are very few trees, but many insects. Some of the animals that are found there are reindeer, wolves, and bears. There isn't really a variety of species that live there due to the cold and dry climate. As you can tell by the picture, the only vegetation you'll find is shrubs, mosses, and lichen. The next biome is known as the taiga, or the coniferous forest. This is the largest terrestrial biome and is found in the northern parts of the world, similarly to tundras like in northern Europe, Asia, or North America. This biome is filled with evergreen trees, also known as conifers, hence the name. It is very cold and snows a lot, but there is a lot of rainfall, which allows the evergreen trees to dominate the area. Some animals you would find there are squirrels, hares, porcupines, deer, bears, and wolves. There's a lot of rainfall and also a slightly greater variety of species in the coniferous forest biome than in the tundra. Next, we have deciduous forests, which are found south of tundras. This biome has a huge variety of animal and plant life. One of the key characteristics of this biome is that its trees drop their leaves in winter and then grow them back when it's spring. Unlike the previous 2 biomes I talked about, this one has both hot and cold seasons. Some of the species that occupy this biome are deer, beavers, foxes, bears, and raccoons. Moving on, we have grasslands, also known as savanna. As the name suggests, this biome's vegetation is mainly dominated by grasses. There are only a few trees you would find scattered around a savanna because there are occasional droughts and not much rainfall. Savannas are found in both temperate and tropical areas of the world. Some of the animals you would find there are antelope, kangaroos, elephants, zebras, prairie dogs, and bison. Next, we have tropical rainforests. This biome is found near the equator, where it's hot and humid. Compared to all the other biomes, they have the highest amount of precipitation as well as the most diversity in plant and animal species. Due to the abundance of rainfall, the trees grow very tall, and the plants, such as vines and shrubs, grow around the trees. This biome is home to many birds, reptiles, mammals, and amphibians. Some examples include parrots, monkeys, lizards, insects, and snakes. Lastly, we have the desert. This biome is very well known for having extreme temperatures. Usually it's very hot in the daytime, but the temperature drops dramatically once the sun goes down. It's also very dry. It doesn't even have enough precipitation to support grasses. One of the main plants that you can find there are cacti, which expand to hold as much water as they can when it does rain for short intervals. Cacti have prickly spines on their surface, which are actually a type of leaf, to prevent animals from attacking them to get water. Some animals that live there are birds, lizards, snakes, and insects. I have this little graph here so you can kind of have a good image of what the biomes are like relative to one another. Average temperature is graphed on the x-axis, and average precipitation is graphed on the y-axis. I mentioned that tropical rainforests receive the most rainfall out of all the other biomes, and you can see here that the bar for tropical rainforest has the highest peak. On the other hand, the lowest two peaks belong to tundra and desert, which again tells us that they are very dry regions. If we take a look at average temperatures, we can see that desert is placed at the very right, meaning that it has the highest average temperature, while tundra is placed at the very left, meaning that it is the coldest. The average temperature for tundra even goes below 0 degrees. This type of chart comes up pretty frequently in the middle of exams, so make sure you know it well. Alright, that's all for part 2. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content.